Are you a high-performing real estate investor who's looking to further elevate your performance? If so, download our free guide, Raising the Bar, 5 Steps to Elevate Your Habits by joining our insider network at elevatepod.com. This guide, created by yours truly, has the power to put your transformation on autopilot and exponentially change your trajectory. Go get your free copy now at elevatepod.com.
Welcome to Elevate, the masterclass where we dissect the elements of exceptional achievement and lifestyle design with a focus on personal growth and real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I'm so thankful to have you here. And I am blessed and grateful to be sitting with my friend Maggie Cheung today. This is a phenomenal episode where you're going to learn about how to audit yourself, how to audit real estate investments, and how to audit your life to grow in massive ways. And also how to create financial independence, financial freedom in your life through real estate and otherwise. You're also going to learn about her phenomenal story and how that can relate and how success can leave clues for you as well. The co-founder and managing partner of Sage Investing Group, Maggie comes from an audit and risk management background and has been investing in real estate since 2011. Prior to transitioning to full-time real estate, Maggie has worked in large financial firms on Wall Street, where she specialized in risk management for the firm's investment banking and investment management businesses, which included reviewing, assessing, and improving the firm's underwriting and due diligence process. After years of audit service in this industry, Maggie has since transitioned to real estate. And in 2020, she partnered with Lana, Choi, and Wang to form Sage Investing Group. With a collective real estate portfolio of over 4,400 units across 9 markets, Sage Investing Group focuses on sourcing, underwriting, and vetting private real estate investments for its portfolio as well as its investors. So without further ado, please enjoy this phenomenal conversation with Maggie Cheung. With all that said, guys, I want to dive in. This episode is phenomenal. Elevate Podcast is all about mindset, mind expansion, and personal development for high-performing real estate investors. I'm your host, Tyler Chesser, and I am a high-performance real estate investor and high-performance coach. It is my job to decode the stories, habits, and multifaceted expertise of world-class investors and other experts to help you elevate your performance and lifestyle. Are you ready to take it to another level? It is time. Today's the day. Let's go. Let's raise the bar, because you know what? That's what we're all about on Elevate. And there's no such thing as resting on our laurels. Every day is an opportunity to improve, to grow, to expand. So let's expand our minds today. Let's learn more about mindset. Let's learn more about how other people's challenges can relate to us overcoming our own challenges, because we have so much in common. No matter how different we look, no matter what gender you are, no matter what race you are, no matter where you're from in this world, you can create unlimited abundance in your life. And that's what Elevate Podcast is all about. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you so much for listening. And the fee for listening is just to share this with a friend, share this with one person, share this with someone that you know, whether you know them well, whether you just met them, share this with one person. That's the fee. Otherwise, it's 100% free. Or you can also share this on your social media, because the only way that we're going to continue to grow this message that there's unlimited abundance available to you through mindset, through real estate, through investing in yourself, through personal development, is if you share this with other people. So we're so grateful for you. We're so grateful that you're listening, watching. And I want to continue to invest in you. I want to continue to give you this massive value. So please go ahead and share that right now. And also give us a rating or review. Follow Elevate Podcast wherever it is that you like to listen or watch podcasts, including YouTube, including Apple, including Spotify, you name it. We are all across the board. So let's dive in. I want to introduce you to Maggie Cheung. Maggie, welcome to Elevate. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Well, excellent. Well, it's so good to be with you. And when you and I originally met in February of this year, I was just struck by the way that you think, the way that you approach business, the way that you approach life. So I'm really excited about having this conversation with you. And I think that there's going to be a lot of gold here for the listener. So before we dive into this conversation, Maggie, if you were to describe yourself in the way that the people that know you most, whether it's family members, friends, people that have known you for a long time, or people that know you very deeply, what would they say about Maggie Cheung? How would they describe you?
Good question. I will say I get a lot of, I'm very intuitive. I think it's maybe grit. It's maybe a word. And if I set myself something, I see it and I just focus and put my head down and just do it. And then I know the journey would be hard, would be long, but I don't know. I have persistence. That's a common theme that a lot of people mention to me, that I won't give up.
Well, those are some phenomenal traits. And I think that we can all continue to grow our own intuition, our own grit, our own persistence, and never giving up, because things can be challenging. You know, life can be challenging. I know I was having a conversation with a family member, I think it was yesterday, and it was about one of our younger family members. It's actually, I don't remember exactly who this was, but someone was having a big challenge about their school teacher in second grade. And there was some big problem about them asking, you know, if they would tie their shoe or not. And it was this big anxiety. The entire weekend was filled with anxiety about this tiny little thing. And I was thinking about, and I'm like, wow, you know, there's so many more challenging things in life than just that. So we've got to be grit. We've got to have grit. We've got to have persistence. We've got to be intuitive and make strategic decisions and be thoughtful, because the world and especially in investing can be very challenging. So I can really appreciate those attributes that you just described. So that's a beautiful thing. But let's get an understanding of where you came from and your upbringing and sort of your backstory. So could you tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I actually was born in Hong Kong. My family moved to US for a better life when I was 5. And my family have owned a restaurant in a small town in Wilmington, Delaware for many, many years. And they work a lot, like 364 days a year. And the only day they have off is Thanksgiving. So I can say that the value, what they instill in me, hardworking, is very much there and very prominent. But I guess I was afforded the ability to have a better education. So I'm really, very thankful for my parents for that. I guess along with that, I took my education, went to college, accounting, and minor in management information systems, and went to Wall Street, worked there for many years before as an auditor in risk management, before I jumped into actually real estate investing. It just kind of fell, I guess where stars align, and it just makes sense for me and for my background. And I love it. And this is it has not been an easy road, to tell you, Tyler. So, but it has been very rewarding. And I feel like I've been blessed that I think success leaves clues everywhere. If you just look for it, it comes to you. So I just want to share that.
I love that. And that's one of the reasons why I love the podcast in particular, is because success leaves clues. And if we continue to follow our nose, so to speak, if I was speaking in a dog's terms, I would be following my nose to find, you know, the treat or the treasure or those clues that you're talking about. And there's clues in your background. There's clues in your journey. So that's why I love talking about these type of journeys. And think about your story and your background, you know, going to school and, you know, majoring in accounting and in management, and then learning about how you could become an effective auditor on Wall Street. Talk to us a little bit about that journey. I'm sure that was a challenging experience, but it was also rewarding in terms of your experience that you gained along the way. But tell me a little bit about that, and what was that like? Yeah,
absolutely. To be honest, Frank, when I went to accounting with the degree, I did not know what audit was. it almost just kind of fell in my lap as well, because there was a need. At that time, there was a big scandal, you know, Wall Street, Enron and all that when I was graduating. So audit was a big topic. And I just kind of have, because of my degree, I was able to get into the big 4 accounting firms, and there was a lot of needs there to be an auditor. And I kind of grew appreciation of audit, because it just gives me the breadth of capacity to kind of interview different people in a company and learn what they do, and just ask questions and be curious about it. And that's why I've been in the industry for many, many years, because I learn something every day, and every day is never the same. So I love to breathe in that world, and kind of finding pieces together and put a puzzle together. That's what drives me. When I went to Wall Street, it's the same thing. It's almost like a people community where you work with people, you ask them, you interview, you audit in their world, but you have to be respectful because these people are working day in, day out and doing well in their job. So there's an element of appreciation what they do and trying to see how we can help them improve their processes and help them think about something differently, but in a very respectful manner. And you try to get buy-ins across the board. So that element, I feel like, gave me the perspective of being able to bring that skill set into real estate investing, because it's the same thing. It's another project, right? Bringing people together and getting the consensus and building a team and just making everyone feel good that this is a great project to be part of. I love it.
That's amazing. And I think that it's awesome to understand sort of the foundation of your experience and the breadth of experience that you had as an auditor in public accounting and then becoming an internal auditor. And I believe you worked with companies such as Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. And so that experience helped you understand how important it was to ask questions, investigate, gather consensus, build teams, work together in alignment towards a successful project. And am I understanding that correctly? What other experiences were critically important as you were building the foundation of experience in the earlier parts of your career?
Yeah, it's just naturally being curious. I think I'm just naturally love asking questions and just want to understand how things work. In just being an auditor, we're trained or skilled to ask very specific questions and just kind of get people to think of things differently and being very critical. They call it professional skepticism. It just means that, you trust but verify. So there's a lot of that, so we do, we have the ability to kind of assess the situation and understand, okay, what is the big picture here, how things go from A to Z, where are the potential gaps in the risks and different across from stage A to stage B, because whether you're taking on a new client and then making a sale, there's systems and processes in a company, and you just have to walk through from beginning to end and identify and step back and see if there are potential risks that you can identify. And of course, along the way, you got to make sure that what people mention to you is and collect their evidence to make sure trust and verify. It's always that. There's an element that there's always an element in my head that, I do want to believe, but I always need to see it on paper or something to collaborate with some sort. So I think that element brings very well to what I'm doing right now, because in private investing, it's not as transparent as you will see in the open market. So I think helping my investors getting through the hurdles and understanding the risks that they're taking upon on particular investment, I feel like it's very beneficial for them to hear. So
I'm excited to dive into, how applicable that has become for you now as a real estate investor in auditing investments. But I'll just table that just for a second, because I want to understand sort of your entry into real estate and as you grew as a real estate investor, what that looked like. So when did you decide that real estate needed to become a part of your own personal wealth building portfolio?
It has always been in my, because my family is in business. And so they have bought single families portfolio. And I see, and that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to scale. I wanted to get more units. So we were able to, so I live in New Jersey. So the capital here to buy a property is really high. And the cash flow is like, it's probably in the negatives right now. So, I know that I have to, I always love the idea of going to real estate like head on. It's just not taking that leap and doing it. And that was like especially scary. So it wasn't until I was kind of forced into it. Basically, when I had my two kids, they're 6 and 4 now, but when I had them when they were very little, I knew that I could not work 80 hours a week anymore at Wall Street. So So I took a step back and, and quit my job 4 years ago and decided that, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know it's something in real estate investing. So I just kind of start listening to podcasts, bigger podcasts for one, like that kind of get me started. I started reading a lot of books and just kind of narrowed down like, okay, there's different ways that you can invest. And bigger podcast, episode 290 is probably one of them. First one that tells me every single step that's possible. So I just kind of like try to see everyone and try it out, or through interview with other people, like how they do it. And is it something that I like? So I actually shadow a investor, a local investor. She does flips. So I went, I love her. First of all, she's a woman and she was a former accountant. So we have that connection, but she also quit her job and she did full-time flipping. And so I decided I want to work for her, just shadow her for 3-4 months and just try to help her see how I can improve her processes and do just, and she actually showed me what I got from there is that I did not like it. So, it was very hands-on and it was not something that was challenging me because I'm very analytical. So I realized very quickly that it was not the right fit for me, that type of investing. I mean, I'm very, very grateful for her because she actually showed me a path that is possible. She quit her job and she is able to create a successful business. So success leaves clues. So if she can do it, I can do it too. I just had to figure out what is my calling. So
were you already investing in real estate before you quit your Wall Street career?
I did. We had 2 single families in New Jersey. It was barely cash flowing. So it wasn't very effective. I mean, of course, you want to scale. So I had no idea how to do that. But
so you took a big leap of faith then, huh?
I did. It was so that I have to convince my husband. Yeah. But slowly, he kind of got on board, but also like do a lot of research, trying to, and I connect with a lot of people during the 1 year that the first year that I quit. I just started connecting, reading, go to meetups, just do all 9 yards, and then kind of gather all the information. It's kind of like audit. That's what you do first. What do you call it? Scope out. So you take on a scope and dissect it and understand it, and then bring it back to a focus. So.
That's a beautiful way of describing it. I've never really considered it in that capacity, but now I'm understanding in the way that anytime I'm making a big decision or making an investment decision, what I do first is I gather all of the details, all the data, all the intel, and then start to put that puzzle together, start to make sense of the big picture, and then start to get granular on various different, whether it's risk sides of the equation or whether it's upsides, and understanding, well, what does this business plan look like? How are we going to maximize this opportunity? And it's also just in general, just making any decision. It's almost gathering more and more information, and obviously not getting to a point where you have analysis paralysis because you've got to take action at some point. So I love the way you describe that in terms of an auditor's perspective. Mm-hmm. And so your journey, you took the leap, you started gathering this scope, this intel, you started really networking, meeting everybody that you could, educating yourself. Talk to me about that first deal. What did the first deal look like from there?
So actually, there's always like a long journey, right? I would say the first deal we're actually closing right now.
It's a good distinction, by the way.
So, because I feel like a lot of people see the end of the result and not see the build up of the results. It's
false starts, right? There's things that just happen. And it's like, well, when is this ever going to happen successfully for me, right?
Yeah, bump into that road bump a lot, a lot. So I would say the first deal that we actually lead on, because we are part of a lot of general partnership deals this year, especially. But the first deal that we actually lead on, we're closing in hopefully in 2 weeks. So yes.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. It is, it was a long time in making because we were building broker relationships. And this is, we're talking about multifamily at this point, because that's when I identified. and put my focus, and this is the right calling for me, because it's analysis. It is also, trying to gather data and dissect it and understanding the risk. So it fits where perfectly. I would say it took us almost like a year and a half to get to the first deal, after underwriting a lot of deals. And each time we just had to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's happening, and kind of replay the play, I guess, like football. You kind of like understand, okay, what I did right and what I did wrong, and see how you can improve the process again. And let's go at it again, and let's do it one at a time. And you just have to put your head down and keep going. So we are really happy and fortunate that we found a deal that we are really happy to bring to our investors, and lead on it. We're excited about it. It was not overnight.
Hey guys, just a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back to the show. This episode of Elevate is brought to you by CF Capital. And you know how much I love real estate and how it can be a vehicle towards creating any outcome that you want in your life, which is really why we created CF Capital. It's a real estate investment firm that focuses on acquiring and operating multifamily assets that provide stable cash flow, capital appreciation, and a margin of safety for our investors, for our partners, and for the people that we serve. Our team leverages its expertise in acquisitions and management to provide investors like you with superior risk-adjusted returns while placing a premium on preserving capital. Our mission is to provide property investment and asset management solutions to help investors maximize their returns by investing in high-value multifamily communities. Our philosophy is that we can elevate communities together through this process. And I want to invite you to go check out cfcapllc.com, because we have a free ebook that's called The Bottom Line, the 10 ways to increase cash flow in an apartment complex. And I want to tell you that this is a value-packed ebook. So I want to invite you to go check that out right now at cfcapllc.com. I think you're going to get a ton of value just from reading this, whether you apply it to your own business or whether you educate yourself further on what it would look like if you invested with CF Capital. So go check that out at cfcapllc.com. Again, that's cfcapllc.com. And enjoy the rest of the show.
No, that's so good. Well, that's such a good reminder for everybody listening, is like anything worth having takes time, and it takes persistence, and it takes resiliency, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to fit in this perfect, book that, shows this perfect story of, you made this leap and then all of a sudden you just experience massive success. I think that there's almost this journey that we're called on, and it requires us to look within and say, well, how patient and resilient are you, and how, persistent are you willing to be? But tell me, what other stories did you have to combat in your mind during that 1.5 year period?
Oh man, there was a lot. As a real estate investor in multifamily, it's a commercial real estate, right? So you're battling and you're playing in a space where male dominant industry. But I never like to use that as an excuse. But I do have to be aware of it, because I am aware of my, not just externally, but also internally, how that affect me, because I can just dismiss myself and dismiss, I don't deserve to be here. So there's a lot of that. So every single time. So we have to battle what I have internally, and I'm already getting emotional already. And of course, some element of it is true, because externally people will look at us like, oh, what are these women are doing here? Why are you here? Or who are you? Who are you supporting? Are you really? Or are you just like backup office or something? But internally, I know I have to feel the part and feel like, okay, we deserve to be here. And we can do it. So, I'm happy that we said we're getting our first deal. So, and things are turning around. So I think it's also like, people are getting more aware of us, or becoming more aware of that we are here to stay, and we're grinding. So
I love it. Well, first of all, I mean, you deserve so much credit and so much of a shout out because, it's almost like that persistence and that staying power and that willing to show that I'm not going to stay down when I'm knocked down. It's like almost one of the most powerful things that you can do in this business and certainly in life in general, especially in a very challenging business as being an investor in a very competitive environment with so many different forces compressing yields, compressing cap rates, increasing the level of competition, decreasing the level of supply, increasing the level of demand. And so all of these competitive forces, really feel like they're waiting on top of your shoulders. It feels like the world is on top of your shoulders. And then you just mentioned even being a woman, I'm sure you've had, different external pressures or challenges that you've experienced, but even thinking about, how does that sort of resonate with you internally as well? And how have you overcome those challenges? So what other challenges have you experienced in being a woman in a male dominated industry like this?
Yeah, I mean, you have to call brokers, right? So I have a few brokers who hang up on me.
Really?
So, yes, or just don't flat out respond. So that happens, so you kind of have to, that's okay. You're not going to win everybody. So that's what at least in my head, right? So there are going to be people that are willing to work with women and and unfortunately, there's also good things about it because there are partners out there who are also brokers and property managers who are women in the leadership, and they recognize it's very hard in this space. So we do have like a little further encouragement from them. So it does feel very well that there is some kind of, I guess, sisterhood in the community, that they recognize us, they see us, and we recognize we see them and we look up to them as well. So I think there is some silver lining in this, and you will.
So you're mentioning a lot of the external challenges, and you mentioned one internal earlier about feeling of, hey, am I worthy of even being here? Am I worthy of even making this call or being a part of this deal? What other types of internal challenges have you been able to overcome, or maybe you still deal with from time to time that you have to continually overcome?
Oh yeah, it's constant, right? Because once you get this, I don't think it will ever go away, because once you elevate to the next level, there is like 10 more levels above you.
That's true.
There's always more things ahead of you, and you always feel like you're uphill battle, and you always have this challenge of, am I good enough? Am I going to be always good enough? So I know that's head trash. So it's just, but feeling it doesn't mean that I can dismiss it, because it's just that I need to, I recognize it, I hear it, and I just have to take a step back and just kind of reevaluate what's going on and what's going on in my head. So if it's something that is, I know it's bothering me, that it's preventing me to be my A game, then I know that I need to take a step back, because it's not going to be a productive day. So
yeah, that's so good. And I think it's great. I love that you mentioned as head trash. I've never heard that before, actually. But thinking about listening to that voice and that internal dialogue and recognizing, number one, we're probably never going to get rid of this internal dialogue. There's this, saboteur or these saboteurs that live within us that want to steal our dreams, that want to convince us that they're actually propelling us forward, but they're actually holding us back. And they're saying, well, if you try, you might fail, or if you make this call, you might be embarrassed, or if you make this investment, you might not get it again. And all of these problems, all these bad things, and it's causing you to stay put, right? And thinking about, all right, well, let me recognize this voice. Let me hear it. And then, what I always like to do is I like to disidentify from things that are holding me back or that are not serving me. It's like, let's question everything. You were talking about curiosity earlier. It's like, let's get curious. Well, what if the opposite of this belief were true? And what if I owned that belief instead? What if I believed and I owned some belief that really is serving me, my future self, and my vision that I have for myself? What if I believed that? What if I identified with that? Does that resonate with you, Maggie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head. I feel like a lot of it is auditing yourself. And and understanding, okay, and part of it is because your mind is trying to protect you from a failure, potential failure. So it's just recognizing that voice, but also trying to comfort her that it's okay, you can get over it, and there's potentially something else you're not seeing. So that's why it's really, really great to kind of be part of a community that kind of elevate your mind a little bit and open up your mind and see something different. Maybe that will help quiet down that little bit of head trust, or comfort your head that it's not real. Like might not be real. So
that is so good. So we got the auditor telling us about auditing investments, auditing yourself. I want to get into auditing investments here shortly, but is there any other ways that you audit yourself in the way that you just described?
I spend a lot of time, I guess just kind of listening to myself. That sounds a little weird, but I just done it growing up. It's just an innate nature. Me just to assess the situation, whether it's happening to me or happening to my family, or because I guess internally I know that not everybody's means well. It's just that people are naturally selfish. Subconsciously, it's always there. So you just have to figure out, okay, psychologically, what's happening behind the scene and what's happening, and how do you serve that person, and how do you serve yourself, and you kind of have to remove. As part of the auditing, I guess it's just because humans are very emotional, and I'm a very emotional person. It's not a bad thing, but it's telling you a feeling that you need to listen to. But it's also removing that emotion and see something that what it actually is, and how that impact the potential, I guess, project or the person. And to see the optimal solution. So if you can remove yourself and the emotional piece, you can see better. So I don't know.
That's amazing. I think it's so important to observe emotions and to connect with them, but then also to just take a step back and look at them, with a, not an emotional view, right? It's almost observing from a curious standpoint. Why do I feel this way? Why might they feel this way? What is my intuition trying to tell me? And then what am I being manipulated from? Whether it's someone else being selfish? Because as you mentioned, I mean, you think about evolution and you think about like Darwin's theory. I mean, at the end of the day, genes are selfish and we're all carrying genes. And so there's this evolution going on over millions and millions of years. And so thinking about that behavior and how do we interact with that as emotional beings, and observing them, I think is so powerful. And thinking about, obviously, as an investor, we have to understand emotions. We have to be able to observe emotions to make effective decisions and not to get swept up in emotional decisions. But we also have to be logical as well. And so I would imagine your background as an auditor has served you really well as an investor as well. Talk to me a little bit about how you approach auditing investments, whether it's doing due diligence or whether it's evaluating opportunities.
It starts all the way from evaluating opportunities. That's why we underwrite so many deals, and because we are very strict in our criteria. And it just my partners are also former auditors. So imagine, if you will, like there's like three of us. We all have to agree on certain standards and how we evaluate deals, how we take on deals. We just have very high standards, I would just say. And there's always a battle. No, I won't say a battle. It's a healthy battle, because we want to challenge. Okay, this is really the right assumption that we're using. Is it logical? Is there evidence of it that that it can really, we can really push up rents? We can't just because it's not just our money, it's our investors' money. So we wanted to be stewards of that all the way up front, even in underwriting any deals. So we take our job very seriously, of course. So, and then when we partner with other people, we have the same, expectation, and we are naturally, we ask a lot of questions. I hope all of our partners appreciate that. So we do, but we do put in our work too, because I know that if there's something that we can help out on to get further clarity and get the deal ball rolling, we're happy to roll our sleeve to do that. Sorry, did I miss the question? I'm not quite sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think asking questions, being analytical, discussing as a team and understanding that you're really uncovering new potential problems and understanding how can we mitigate these type of problems, I think is so powerful. And it's an entire process, right? It's, not only are aligning on mindset, but you're also aligning on the process and really dividing and conquer, I would imagine, in many different capacities. Let's talk a little bit about partnerships. You mentioned 3 of you in the Sage Investing Group. So talk to me about your 3 partners. Talk to me about the good, the bad, and ugly of partnerships that you've seen in your own background.
Yes. So partnerships, I have mentors and people that I work with. They always cautions me on creating partnerships, creating new partnerships. And I'm very well aware of that, but I also appreciate, because I'm very, people person, team. I love working in the team environment. And you need a team to take down these big deals. I know for a fact that I thrive more in a partnership. But I was very cautious of who I partnered with. And Lana.
I can't imagine you being cautious, Maggie. Come on.
You're kidding. So Lana is one of my partners. I actually worked with her in Goldman, and that's how we worked for many years. So I knew her style and her, and she's of course very hardworking. So and I think it was at a point in time when she was also wanted to step out and do something different. So, and I value her because there's elements here for a partnership to work is you have to identify what you're good at, and what you're not good at is someone else can pick up that fill in that gap. So I know for a fact that for me, I know I can put puzzle together. I'm a strategist. I like to do that. Where I need help on is probably on the building the process and improving the process and implementing it into putting an executable and repeatable step, because in the business, it has to be repeatable and process driven. So I know for a fact Lana can do that. So, and I was very happy that she is willing to get, to partner with me. And with Jen, the other element that we're missing between the analytical part, me and Lana are very analytical, and we love to look at deals, and we like to talk about deals. The other side of it we're not so good at is the investor relations side. We're very, I'll say we're more introverted. And with Jen, she is much more, although we are all like audit background, we have different elements of strength and I guess weaknesses that we complement each other. So Jen is definitely by far the most, she's definitely by far better in investor relations, and she's more extroverted, and she has that charisma and also trust that she builds, rapport that she's built very quickly. But so all 3 of us, while we are all auditors, we serve different purposes. So, it took some try and error to kind of figure it out, like what are we good at, and to come together as a team. So
what a dynamic team. And I love the way that you described that, because difference in personalities and skills and strengths and attributes, that's what makes the world go around. And that's what makes successful investments and businesses thrive, is by balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses and going farther together as a team. That's what I love about partnerships myself. So I love the way that you described that. I definitely want to encourage the listener to go back and listen to exactly what Maggie just said again, because what is it that you are holding yourself back from by trying to do it yourself or playing smaller, without partners or without the right types of partners? So I just think that it's so valuable. But of course, there can be the wrong partners, right? So
Absolutely.
Certainly consider that as well, but take your time in deciding what makes the most sense for your own goals. So obviously many investors and most investors get into real estate because they want to create freedom in their life, right? Whether it's financial freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, freedom of spending time with the right people, freedom to impact other people. But talk to me about what's the difference between financial freedom and independence? What's your perspective on that matter?
I would say financial freedom. I think it's more. It's when people talk about it, it's not very resonated with me before, but it's starting to a little bit more since I stepped out and starting to see the benefits of it, or getting the benefits of it. It's very great to have that comfort feeling, I guess, because my husband still has his W-2, but I know that if he, God forbid, he doesn't have that, his W-2, that we still have a safety blanket, but money is still coming in from the passive investing side. So we're not going to sink. And that helps me sleep better at night. But it also creates a different kind of, thought, where before I will think about, okay, and this is probably just very Asian thinking. So my parents, they always, when I was growing up, when I want like a new toy or something, they always like, do you know how much I have to work for that? How many hours I have to spend? Do you want to know how much or how much I have to sell in order to get that? So that was always in my head, like, and when I'm working, or when I had my W-2, I always think about when we go to a family vacation, subconsciously, that is always in my head. Like, okay, how many hours do I have to work in order to pay for that vacation?
Right.
But now it's a little bit different. It's almost like I have this, have passive investing income. It's almost like, okay, how many days, or maybe a day, or how many weeks that I will be able to earn that money back. So it was just a really big difference in thinking. It's like, okay, I can allow that. That's okay.
Yeah. I love that. There's so much importance in that. And it's just a mindset shift, total mindset shift around how you view money or resources. I almost look at just money as energy and, resources towards creating more in your life. And it's not always about trading your time for money, or your expertise for money, or your own effort for money, but it's about being strategic and thoughtful in terms of how is your money working for you, and how is it returning more? How is it creating more value in the marketplace, and returning more in terms of, well, what does that mean for your family? What does that mean for the way that you're living? How does that cover your own expenses and beyond, right? If you want to be free, it's about covering those expenses and beyond, and living without having to trade your time or your expertise or your energy or effort for, money in return. And so to me, that's what financial freedom is. And that's one of the things that I love about real estate, is that we don't necessarily have to have that line of thinking. While many of us, most of the listeners, I'm sure, can resonate with exactly what you described. It's like your parents may have said, well, how many hours am I going to have to work to buy you this toy or whatever it is? And so it's a total shift, and it's amazing the level of freedom that can then open up in your life. And so we're just carrying this ball forward a bit further, perhaps, right? And so let's continue to pay it forward in so many ways. But Maggie, this has been an amazing conversation. You are an amazing individual. I can't wait to see where you continue to take your business, continue to take the investments that you're making, not only in people, but in real estate. And so I know that I just want to, by the way, I want to honor you, because your commitment, not only to your family, the people around you that you care about, is amazing. And your commitment to being persistent in this business, while, being a woman in this type of business, I'm sure can be extremely challenging. And so I just want to acknowledge you for your strength and for your resiliency. And you're just amazing. So with all that said, I'm going to stop buttering you up now. I'm going to transition into our rapid fire section. We call it the rare air questionnaire. It's all about being uncommon. It's about, doing things that most people are not willing to do. So I want to ask you a few questions before we wrap today. If you had to point to the 2 or 3 most impactful books that you've read over the past few years, what would those be and why? 2 books that came in mind.
The One Thing by Gary Keller, and then the Atomic Habits by James Clear. Both are kind of similar. Also, it's kind of self-serving, because I know that I can't do multitasking, and it's kind of served my excuse that I can't multitask. But it's basically break it down and laser focus on one thing, and it's okay to do that, because that's all you can do. And if you do well, you can reap the rewards most beneficial to. So it's like 80-20 rules, right? but it's very practical. It's getting your head into that space.
I love that. And we'll put links in the show notes to both of those phenomenal books, both game-changing, life-changing books. And I agree. I loved both myself. And thinking about the 80-20 rule, I always like to ask this question because I believe that it really applies to exactly what you just described in 80-20. There are certain things that you can do that can create 80% of your results, right? 20% of your activities can create 80% of your results, or 80% of your outcomes. So if you were to say the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis, what would that be and why?
It will be, so for me, it's my job is in my team, I'm the lead acquisition. So that requires me to identify those potential steps that I need to do every day, which is reaching out to brokers, reaching out to property managers. So I track them, so I have a spreadsheet. I look at them, okay, who I haven't talked to already, and kind of stay in touch with them. That's how you draw the deals to you. So, but that's the beauty to have a team, because there are other things that I'm not going to be good at or able to focus on. So my team is able to help on those aspects which they are good at. So we are trying to try to expand our 80-20 rule and creating our pie, so to speak. Of course, there's a lot of what are we working is there, because we are a small team. There is a lot of administration, a lot of taxes and all the administrative stuff that we have to work on as we build on a team. Where we are potentially looking to outsource that, because those are taking our time. We do recognize that, and we're trying to figure out how to expand that so we can dedicate more time into where we can make the most money. So
I love that. And it's just, I just think back to the one thing, like your one thing is acquisitions in your business, and growing that, and thinking about, utilizing a pipeline and a report so you can understand, well, who have I touched base with recently? Who have I not? And understand that that's your highest point of leverage within your business. I think it's a beautiful way of describing it's the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis, because you create deal flow, you create opportunities to evaluate, then you can audit those deals and create, sort of this whole process that you've described throughout this conversation. I think that's amazing. And obviously you're continuing to elevate to the next level where you can say, all right, well, we're spending too much time on administrative stuff. So let's explore, how do we expand through that, right? Because in each level, there's a new challenge. And that's a beautiful thing, because we get to become better. We get to become the next version of ourselves. We get to be the next version of our business through that process. So thank you for describing that. What's the biggest way that you elevate others around you, Maggie?
I would like to say that just bring my smile.
Yes, your smile is amazing. Yes, I agree.
Thank you. So I think, I guess level setting, because I like to be practical, and I like to encourage other people to bring their best side and best A game, right? Because we're all going to have, bad moments and good moments. And I always like to see the best out of people, so that I can, bring out the best attribute into the table and help them grow as well. That will be probably my biggest contribution. And I hope that, my partners and my family and everyone around me will able to be enjoyed.
Well, we are all better for being a part of this conversation today. Maggie Cheung, thank you so much for being on Elevate. Thank you so much for contributing. You are incredible. You're an amazing individual. Is there any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with Elevate Nation today?
Don't give up.
I love it. I love it. And you have exemplified the never give up attitude. So Maggie, thank you so much for being on the show. The listeners can find you at sageinvestinggroup.com, which of course we'll put a link in the show notes. You can also find Maggie on LinkedIn, on her Facebook page, on Instagram. We will put links in the show notes as to where you can find her. But Maggie, is there anywhere else where we can point the listeners?
You got them all. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much again for being on the show today. I will talk to you soon. I look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Elevate Nation, what a phenomenal conversation with Maggie Cheung. What a heart-centered individual and such a smart and sweet person, Maggie Cheung, but also tenacious and resilient, persistent. someone who definitely never gives up. And what a great message that she shared with us there at the end about never giving up, because she has absolutely exemplified that in her business and her life. And I just really, really appreciated this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it yourself. I want to encourage you to re-listen to the show and identify what are your top 1, 2, or 3 takeaways or your key distinctions, because really we need to simplify. We don't need to overcomplicate. What is the number 1, 2, or 3 top things that you learned from this episode? Jot those down in your planner, in your notes, in your phone. Take action, because action is where the real power is. Of course, share this with a friend, share this with someone else that you care about, someone that maybe you just met, someone that you want to develop a relationship with further. You can add value to them by sharing your top 1, 2, or 3 distinctions. And you could also share this with your network. So I encourage you to do that. Grab the link or grab a screenshot of this podcast and go ahead and share it on your social media. With all that said, Elevate Nation, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit elevatepod.com.